Welcome into OutKick the show. Happy Friday. I hope all of you are ready for awesome weekends. I'm going to be with Martha McCollum on Fox News right at the bottom of the hour, so let's start firing right off the top here. NBA Finals Game 4, Stanley Cup Finals nearly over as well. PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. You can turn $10 into $1,000 while watching your favorite sports activity, whatever that game is this summer, whether it's the NBA, the NHL, College World Series, the WNBA. Tonight, Game 4 of the NBA Finals. I've got picks for you that I am convinced will be winners. I'm about to give them to all of you. But when the NBA Finals are over, the basketball action doesn't stop. You got Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, whoever you like in the WNBA. You got esports. In fact, every Wednesday and Saturday in June, if your lineup doesn't win, you get the entry fee back. PrizePicks also offers injury insurance, so your lineup stay in play even if one of your players gets injured this playoff basketball season. Have a player exits the game, you can get injury insurance. Download the app today. Use code OutKick. First deposit match up to $100. That's code OutKick. First deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, my picks tonight, right before we dive into everything. Al Horford, more than 9 points. Kyrie Irving, more than 25 points. Luka, more than 8.5 assists, and Luka more than 9.5 rebounds. The reason why I think Luka is going to do well on rebounds and on assists, he was criticized for not playing hard enough, if you saw that storyline, which I think is mostly BS. Coming from Windhorst. Luka played like he's played for most of his career. But I believe that Luka is going to rebound even better than he usually does, play better defense than he ordinarily would after getting called out. More than 9.5 rebounds, more than 8.5 assists. I think he'll get his teammates involved. I think Luka's going to have a triple-double, but I don't think he's going to go a huge point total personally. Kyrie, more than 25 points. And again, Al Horford, more than 9 points. There you have it. $10 turns into $100. Go to prizepicks.com. Use code OutKick. You bet $100 on that. We hit on all four. Boom, you get $1,000. 10 turns into 100. That's how the game works. You can go play at prizepicks.com, code OutKick. All right, several different things that I want to hit here before we head into the weekend. Caitlin Clark has officially broken sports media. Some of you may have seen last night, she got asked, hey, what do you say to the Caitlin Clark fans who are racist, who are sexist, who are homophobic? Then Stephen A. Smith went on a 5-minute rant on ESPN today. It's continued the craziness, the insanity. She's broken sports media. And interestingly, Caitlin Clark, who to my knowledge has never said anything offensive to anyone publicly on any subject. She is always really good at responding to questions, absolute apex level responses, whether it's getting left off the Olympics, whether it's getting fouled unnecessarily. People do things to her, which I think personally are the wrong decision and treat her unfairly, and she takes the high road every single time. And so now the new argument is that all the WNBA players and all the media that covers the WNBA, the new narrative that is taking root is Caitlin Clark is surrounded by racist, sexist, homophobic fans, and these people are awful, and she needs to denounce them. This is what was demanded to happen last night with sports media questions of Caitlin Clark. She was asked multiple times. First time she said, hey, I just want to play basketball. That's a very reasonable position. If you want to take aggressive political stands and you are an athlete, I think you should be able to do that, right? You're a citizen just like everybody else. Tell us what you think. People can agree or disagree. But also I'm receptive and responsive to the idea of, hey, I love basketball. I just want to play basketball. I'm not trying to be anything other than a basketball player. That's fine too. So that's the answer Caitlin Clark tried to give. That wasn't good enough. So the follow-up is, what would you say to all these awful, sexist, homophobic, racist fans of yours? And then Stephen A. Smith followed it up. And you may have seen, I invited Stephen A. on this show. Or I'll go on Stephen A's show. I think the discussion surrounding Caitlin Clark is broken, and I think there needs to be a more intelligent discussion. I've written long form on it. I would encourage you to go read what I said. But I want to make an analogy here for you that is two parts. One, I think at this point in time, it's fair to say that Caitlin Clark is for the WNBA what Tiger Woods was for golf. And I made that analogy. I've written about it. There are other analogies you can draw. I've talked about Ronda Rousey. I've talked about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. There are other individuals out there you can point to from a historic context, U.S. women soccer team. But to me, Caitlin Clark in what she is doing for the WNBA is akin to what Tiger Woods did back in 1995, 96, 97, whatever year it was that Tiger officially turned pro and came into PGA. Tiger brought a huge new audience with him. The data reflects that Caitlin Clark is tripling the audience that the WNBA had beforehand so far this season. By herself, basically tripling the audience. That's not unlike what Tiger Woods did. Now, there was some tension over the way Tiger Woods was received, but overwhelmingly, and I'm old enough to remember it, everybody said Tiger Woods is great for golf. Why did they say that? They said Tiger Woods is bringing a new, younger, more diverse audience to golf, which at that time, and to a certain extent still, is an old white man's game. Average golfer, not going to be 20 years old and minority, even today. But back when Tiger Woods started playing golf, it was much less common that anybody other than white guys would be playing golf. And if you go out on courses now, it is definitely the case that Tiger Woods brought a younger, more diverse audience to the world of golf. And in so doing, golf itself skyrocketed in popularity, and everyone, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, ended up making way more money than they would have before Tiger Woods was involved. And Tiger brought eyeballs. Way more people watched Tiger Woods if he was in the running of a golf tournament than if Tiger was not in the running of a golf tournament. He brought in a tremendous new audience for golf. Everyone celebrated it. Everyone said, man, this is great. Golf is more dynamic. It's bigger and better than it's ever been before. The rising tide of Tiger Woods lifted all boats. The same thing is true of Caitlin Clark. She is doing for the WNBA what they have claimed they have wanted the history of the WNBA. More eyeballs, more money, more attention. Yet, unlike Tiger Woods, who was overwhelmingly welcomed by the media and serenaded by golf fans for his ability to bring in a new audience, Caitlin Clark is being ripped for it. I don't remember anybody ever ripping Tiger Woods' fans. Caitlin Clark's fans are being ripped. They're racist. They're sexist. They're MAGA Trump supporters. And that, they're saying, is an awful thing. Why the difference? Why, when Tiger Woods came into golf, did the men's golf world overwhelmingly support him, and why did all the media cheer it? While when Caitlin Clark comes into the WNBA, almost universally her fans are being attacked, and the idea that she would be in the league and increasing its popularity is being attacked as well. What's different? Race and gender. I mean, Tiger Woods, minority man. I'm not aware of any athlete ever treated like Caitlin Clark when they're growing a sport in the history of men's sports. Not in my life. It hasn't happened. Tiger Woods, also minority. Caitlin Clark, white woman, getting ripped for bringing new fans to a league which is majority non-white. Tiger Woods, minority, brings new fans into a league that is majority white. I thought diversity, inclusion, and growth was a great thing. What's going on here? Why is Tiger Woods, when he blew up golf bigger than it ever had been, treated as an incredible thing, while Caitlin Clark, trying to do the same thing for the WNBA, is treated as an awful thing? It's a great question. Tiger Woods also made more money than anybody else. He'd never yet won a title. Now, he turned into the greatest golfer of his generation. Maybe Caitlin Clark is. Maybe she's not. Number one overall draft picks sometimes turn into incredible talents, the likes of which all of us watch for a generation. Sometimes they don't pan out. For every number one draft pick that is in getting the Trevor Lawrence $275 million deal, there is also a number one draft pick that's Jamarcus Russell that doesn't end up panning out at all. And lots of people in the middle, right? I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is Tiger Woods, but he's getting paid like him. We'll talk about the Trevor Lawrence contract here in a moment. Why is this happening? Tiger compared to Caitlyn. That's a sports analogy. I now am going to make a non-sports analogy, okay? I am not equating these as being the same thing. Make sure that you watch it in context. But this is what identity politics does. It demands that you respond not based on what any individual is doing, but based on the race, gender, and sometimes sexuality of the individuals involved. Let me give you an example. From the real world, which is far more serious than what we're seeing with Caitlin Clark. Why is Israel the bad guy in the mind of the left in America today? Because Israelis are seen as white and Palestinians are seen as brown. The left, the identity politics world, cannot comprehend that Israel could be an innocent victim of attack and terrorism by the brown-skinned Palestinians. October 7th is a challenge to the narrative that white people are always the oppressor, that they are always the colonizer, that they are always the villain. In this situation of October 7th, Israel is the victim. The white victim of the brown-skinned Palestinians, that doesn't fit the oppression pyramid. And that's how you end up with all these crazy gays for Palestine. That's how you end up with all these stupid college kids engaging in anti-Semitic slogans and all these college professors, because they have bought into the idea of the oppression Olympics, the pyramid of victimization. And whether you are right or wrong has nothing to do with your individual actions. There is an entire collective assigning of guilt or innocence based on the color of your skin. By the way, that's what racism is. Because you're not judging an individual, you're judging a group of people. Israel is the victim, yet because they are seen as white, which is lazy, there's obviously all different sorts of Israelis, but they're seen as white, all different sorts of Jewish people, different skin colors. They're seen as white. They are seen as the oppressor, as the victimizer. And so when they are an innocent victim, that worldview collapses, and you either have to accept the cognitive dissonance of that, or you have to lie to yourself and claim that Israel and the Jews are still the oppressor and the victimizer, even though that most Jews were killed on any day since the Holocaust on October 7th. Why do I use that analogy? Okay, much less serious. Caitlin Clark is the white, straight girl. On the oppression Olympics, Caitlin Clark is the oppressor. This is what identity politics demands. She is the person who is to blame for larger societal ills. So when Caitlin Clark comes into the league and all she does is just want to play basketball, and she doesn't do anything offensive, and she doesn't blame anyone, and she doesn't do anything that actually causes any kind of issue at all, well, that upsets the oppression Olympics and the victimization pyramid. So people have to argue either Caitlin Clark is racist, sexist, homophobic, awful Trump supporter, which we know none of that. I don't think there's any evidence of any of that for this matter. Or you have to say all of her fans are the same. They have to turn themselves in the WNBA, even though it's a majority black lesbian league, they have to turn themselves into the victim. Their worldview is so broken by identity politics that they can't have an honest conversation, which might entail Caitlin Clark having done nothing wrong at all and just being the Tiger Woods of the WNBA. Their brains are so polluted by the woke virus and by the oppression Olympics and the pyramid of victimization that they cannot analyze individual actions. They see Caitlin Clark as a straight white woman, a proximizer of a colonizer and of an oppressor, and so they have to try to figure out some way to make her the bad guy. And that's what you're seeing happen right now. And the reaction to it in the larger non-identity politics draped society is, man, this is crazy. Because most sports fans don't buy in with this craziness. They don't buy into, hey, let's judge an athlete not by his or her performance, but based on their identity. Right? We don't sit around and say, oh, who's the best quarterback, at least not if you're an actual sports fan, of a certain race. Like, I don't care. I want the best quarterback. We don't sit around and say, who's the best gay quarterback? Has there ever been? I don't know. I don't care. If you told me, and I've said it for a long time, that a transgender midget would lead my Tennessee Titans to the Super Bowl, I would wear that transgender midget's tiny little jersey with my big fat belly hanging out, and I'd be happy as hell to do it. Because I don't care about anything other than, do you make the team that I root for more likely to win? I think that's true of 99% of sports fans. White, black, Asian, Hispanic, I don't care about anything other than, are you going to make it more likely that my team wins? That's not the story of Caitlin Clark. And so what's going on here, I think, is important because it signifies the degree to which identity politics has taken over the world of sports, such that we can't even have an honest conversation about Caitlin Clark because the identity politics universe has so much of a focus on her race, gender, sexuality, whatever you want to say, that they can't imagine a straight white woman. There's a lot of jealousy, but again, I just want you to think about the difference between Tiger Woods and how he was respected and embraced by everybody when he came into golf compared with how Caitlin Clark is being treated right now. I think it's significant. Couple of other stories. I just mentioned Trevor Lawrence, $275 million guaranteed. I looked it up. John Elway made $45 million in his entire 16-year NFL career. Trevor Lawrence is going to make that in 1 year. We are rapidly trending towards, you can agree or disagree with whether it's going to whether it's a good or bad thing. I'm yay capitalism. I want everybody to make as much money as possible. Where's Trevor Lawrence? 12th best quarterback in the NFL, maybe? This is what the market is if you are a top half quarterback. If you can be a top half quarterback in the NFL, you can become a billionaire. It used to be the case that you had to be the Patrick Mahomes, right? You had to be one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks without it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Here, Trevor Lawrence, who I've got around the 12th best player in the NFL, I think there's 10 or 11 guys that I would pick if I could pick somebody to be my quarterback before I would pick Trevor Lawrence, making $275 million guaranteed in 5 years. He may well make $1 billion in his career if he ends up actually being a stud player, because he's still got another decade. It's not crazy to think that he could make $500 million in a 10-year contract, given how rapidly contracts are increasing. This is wild. Not just NFL, NBA, these athlete salary are out of control. Get your kid to play quarterback if you think he can be an elite caliber player. One of the 16 best, he's going to become a billionaire in the years ahead. One other story before I duck out here to go do Fox News. NBC News reached out to me. I believe they have now written a story. They are angry that I shared a video of Joe Biden looking like he was lost at the G7 in Italy. There's a video of, after paratroopers come down, Joe Biden leaving the group and looking out of sorts, and then the leader of Italy Maloney, I believe is her name, has to go grab Joe Biden, bring him back, and then he slowly, it's in real time, but he slowly tries to put on those shades that he wears all the time. So there's not as much evidence of how vacant his eyes are in so many of the photos that are being taken of him. I shared that video that was initially shared by the RNC. It has been seen by over 1 million people. NBC News reached out. They were angry at me. They said, that's misinformation. That's disinformation. How dare you share that video? And so they asked for a comment. My comment is as follows. Joe Biden has dementia and isn't fit to be president. Pretending otherwise is a lie. I then reshared the video for all of you to see. NBC News, MSNBC's parent company, carrying water for Joe Biden. Look, you can vote for Joe Biden if you want to. I've told you already I'm voting for Trump. You can vote for Joe Biden. If you are voting for Joe Biden, in my opinion, you are voting for a dementia patient. I don't think Joe Biden has the mental or physical ability to still be president of the United States. Not saying Trump's perfect, but given a choice between the two, I think Trump clearly is in a far more stable mental and physical condition than Joe Biden. I would rather the president that I am voting for be mentally and physically sound, given the option of whether or not someone is going to be president. I want them to be the most mentally and physically sound they can be. But pay attention to how much carrying of water there is for so many left-wing media outlets to be arguing that what you are seeing is not actually the truth and you should be censored. And I want to close with this, and maybe I'll talk about it next week. By the way, I'm going to be in Atlanta with my family going to Braves games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm playing in the Live Golf Tournament event here in Nashville on Thursday in the Pro-Am. So I won't be back with an official OutKick show with you until Friday. Just so you know that is where I am running around for the next week with my family, going to games and then playing in the Live Golf Tournament. But Axios has had a story the past couple of days that Trump has a real chance to win 18 to 29-year-old voters. Would be the first Republican to win 18 to 29-year-old voters since 1988. George H.W. Bush, the first George Bush, was the last Republican to win 18 to 29-year-old voters. Why do I bring this up? Biden's strongest voting group right now is voters over the age of 65. They are supporting Biden by around 9 points. Voters over 65 have voted for Republicans in every election in the 21st century except for 2000. Why would you have a situation where young voters are breaking for Trump and older voters are breaking for Biden? I would submit it's because older voters are more likely to be influenced by traditional media. CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN. They're more likely to be watching and reading the New York Times, the Washington Post, because they haven't recognized how much those media outlets have moved. Younger voters are more likely, I think, to be discerning in what media they consume and to be skeptical overall. Just worth considering, because I think that's kind of backwards to how most people would contemplate this thing going. Older voters breaking for Biden, younger voters breaking for Trump. Why? I would submit because of the way that NBC News is covering your boy and the videos that I shared. You can watch it for yourself. If you don't think Biden has lost several steps, and if you don't think he has dementia, that's your right. To me, it's not a very difficult call. He's clearly got issues cognitively. All right, love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I'm Clay Travis. This has been OutKick, the show.